So hello everyone. Thank you for tuning in to this slightly different video today with a couple of special guests. We've got Ryan and Siân from Me, the Wife, and Wrexham AFC. So obviously got welcome to the other side of the racecourse from myself and the Yale Stand, or rather they call the Wrexham Lager Stand, over to the Macaron Mould Road Stand. Though I think when I was last in the Mould Stand, this is called the Price Griffith Stand. But that was I think when they first built it, wasn't it? Back
Yeah. That's quite some time ago.
that, to be fair, try and show a little bit of age there by showing how far when I was a lot younger when I went back in the old mold road stands. But yeah, but thanks for joining me. So a quick question: how what are your thoughts on the season so far?
It's been a bit. When we look at how many points we've got, it sort of looks like it's been plain sailing, but I don't think it feels like that. It feels like a bit of a roller coaster, even though we've got 107 points.
Yeah.
I think people would probably chop one of their arms off for a season like that. But it sort of, I think we've had a lot of games where it's been, your emotions are all over the place. You think back to games like the Oldham game.
Yep.
When we were away at Oldham, that was a bit nuts. The Aldershot game, that was a bit crazy. We've had obviously the two Sheffield United games, the Coventry game, the Maidenhead, York, and there's been quite a few games where it's been, a sort of, like I say, a roller coaster
The
of
Halifax
emotions.
game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know, which wasn't great either. But all in all, I think it's one of them. I was sort of asking myself this question: that am I grateful that we didn't go up last season because we got to experience this season? And I'm still not sure what the answer is to that question, to be honest, because part of me thinks, yeah, I am glad we didn't go up last season because we've had an absolute treat of a season. But at the same time, on the flip side of that, you sort of think, well, how good we've been. Could we be in the top three in League Two now if we'd have gone up last season? Which, again, I don't know the answer. Do you know what I mean? But
Oh yeah, yeah.
from my point of view, it's been an amazing season. And it's probably, well, certainly in the last 15 years, it's definitely been the best that I've seen a Wrexham team play.
I'm sitting here nodding. I've only been here for 2 seasons, so I don't know all the obviously all the heartache and everything that's been going on in the past 15 years. But
The longer than that.
well,
Hopefully you don't have to experience too much
No.
heartache during the next few years. Anyway, it's nice and, well, I wouldn't say easy, but it's a bit better than the last
Better.
20 years. Obviously, well, I mean, I was thinking, what was your maybe top three players? Perhaps top one player is probably a bit tough. Maybe top three, 'cause don't feel like excluding players. If you probably say, I'd probably think probably Paul Mullen is number one most likely, but then it's
yeah.
What do you think?
For me, um, see, I'm a big fan of Luke Young. But if we're going for players that have like really made an impact on the team, I would say number one Paul Mullen, number two Elliot Lee, and number three. Do you know what? This season, I'd say Sam Dalby. I think he's been quite integral to how we're doing this season.
You might look at that as an odd answer, I suppose. Well, I do. But I mean, probably for game time, it's an odd answer. But I do get where you're coming from because he has really stepped up when he's needed to. I probably agree with two of them. I'd say Mullin and Palmer, and especially the relationship they seem to have built. They're integral for me. They've got to be the first two names on the team sheet.
Palmer, really?
Sorry, not Palmer. Mullin and Lee. Sorry. Yeah, I know. Yeah, Mullin and Lee. That relationship they sort of built from midfield through.
Yeah.
Brilliant. I'd probably go Tozer. As a third.
Oh,
I think he gets overlooked a lot,
yeah, clearly.
yeah,
and I think he's a solid 8.5 out of 10
Yeah.
every week. Don't get me wrong, he has his bad games, but so does everyone. but I think he does get overlooked a lot. And I think he is the absolute anchor in that defence.
Definitely has been the past few games. Definitely,
He's
been amazing.
I think he has been one of the best signings that we've made. I think leadership wise and the way he plays, I'd go for him as my number 3.
Yeah, and Ryan Reynolds' mum. Another game.
I was wondering if you think perhaps with Sam Dalby, it felt like his almost like renaissance came from the Coventry game.
Yeah.
Because it felt like when you were at the Coventry, it was like, oh, we thought he was going for a weakened side, starting Dalby, and he really starts off strongly there.
Yeah, we were at that game, weren't we?
We were.
And it was one of them. I think he really. You're probably right. From that point onwards, I think. I can't speak for everyone, but I think we really started to notice him.
Yeah.
And when he was coming on, it felt like he was actually making a difference in games. Whereas I think before that, it was more of a case of, okay, Palmer's tired, let's bring Dalby on just to fill the gap for 10, 15 minutes. But then from that point on, I think he's really starting to push for being, I can sort of shouting out, I can start games and I can actually do a job.
Which he's proven.
Yeah, he's don't get me wrong, he's got a lot to learn, and there's a lot of tricks that Palmer's picked up. I'm talking like the dark arts tricks, not like, but certain things. And I think Dalby's got a lot to learn there, but he's certainly pushing. For a regular first team place, I'd say,
and he deserves it as well. I think.
I'd say
definitely agree. I do agree with Toes as well. He's very much the unsung hero through the season. Whereas he's getting new defensive partners regularly. O'Connell, Connor, Tunnicliffe, Hayden. He's maintained his position all the way through the season, which is extraordinary, really.
Yeah, I mean, probably my favourite player is Aaron Hayden, I would say, for me, because I was always a defender when I was younger and I always played as a defender, and I think he's superb, and obviously the goals he chips in as well. But you can't really put him, even though he's still, he scored like 12 goals this season, he hasn't played since January. I think I read a stat, he's the top scoring centre-back in the National League, even though he hasn't played for the last 2.5, 3 months, which is crazy, really. But you can't really put him in that top 3 bracket. I know he did a lot for us up to his injury, but I think the fact that he has missed out on, some key vital games through injury, I think Tozer probably just pips him to that top 3 for me, I think.
Yeah, I think I want to change my mind now. Can I have 4?
You can have as many as you like.
Just go 11.
Yeah, all of them.
Well, I was a defender as well when I played. Obviously, I wasn't very good, but that's it. I'm more of the more Tozer, but then again, I don't have the long throws or some of the fancy flicks. It was more the rough and tumble sort of thing.
Yeah.
I was wondering, what do you think's the moment of the season so far? What's your thing that jumps out to you?
Yeah, I think I was musing about this because it was something on our podcast. It was something that I wanted to ask people, and I started putting a list together of, is it this, is it that, and there's just so many. And like sort of Mullins' last-minute penalty at Oldham, and the Coventry game as a whole, and there was so many. I think for me though, it has to be Ben Foster's penalty save against Notts County.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't think I've ever celebrated something that wasn't a goal as much as I celebrated that. We talked on the podcast about last minute goals, didn't we? And how the emotion of last minute goals. And then we sort of said, well, as it turns out, last minute penalty saves are just as exciting. And I think for me, that was that was the moment where I sort of felt we've won this league now. And I know we haven't yet, but that was the sort of moment where I actually believed we were going to go on and do it. And I think that tied in with the fact that it was the last minute, pretty much the last kick of the game, I think, for me, and the fact that it was an amazing save as well. You know,
yeah,
so,
it certainly was. What about you,
and
Sean?
I think,
I'd have to agree.
oh, you're agreeing with me.
I am agreeing with you.
You never agree with me.
I never agree with you, but yeah, I think when Ben Foster made that save against Notts County, I actually think I teared up a bit because I was just like, you know, I think I got emotional because I knew, excuse me, how much it meant to everybody in that, new, old, whatever fans that were there. I think I knew exactly what it meant to everybody. And obviously Rob and Ryan were there, weren't they? The Notts County game.
Yeah.
So, and you know, and I'm so glad they were, because it was such a massive, epic moment.
Well, it's that word, isn't it? It's roller coaster, because the game was just that. It was like, you know, the first half was kind of cagey, and then they scored. It was like, oh, we're losing this, and then it was like, oh, before you know it, oh, we're winning this, and then it's like, oh, they've come back again. Oh, a draw's all right. Oh, we're winning this,
and then
for it to almost, you're sitting there going as if this is going to get taken away from us with the last kick of the game, and then to have that euphoria of, oh my God, he saved it, you know, and it was one. I was shattered after that game. I was absolutely.
We had to record our podcast, didn't we? And
we recorded it. Yeah, we recorded it straight after, and I think it's one of them where during recording after the game, you could feel the adrenaline
just draining,
seeping away from you, and it just halfway through, we were just so tired and drained. And it was just, it was one of them. But yeah, definitely for me, I think that Ben Foster saved.
Yeah, As much as I hate, it pains me. I have to agree with you.
Yeah, I'll go for a third. That's got to be my moment of the season as well. Just you've probably explained it better than I have, but just what a fantastic ending to that game, and all the fingers crossed that that we do go over the line. I suppose, what's your probably game of the season? Is it the Notts County game, or is there any other game that tops that one for you?
I think for me, yes, the Notts County game was good. Well, it was more than good. More than good. But I think the game that really took it for me was the Coventry game. We went there, had never been to that ground before. I was excited to go there and sort of see it, and it was great. It was a really nice, place to go and watch a game. To then go, when we went 1-0 up, Dalby scored, and then to score again, and then to score again. It just felt like you were in some sort of fairy tale. That it was like, how is this happening? And that, I think for me, and the grit that they showed to hold on. I know they just come after us in the second half, and they were just. They looked like the Championship side that they were, and they probably should have been from the start for the last sort of 40, 35 minutes. They were well on top, but the grit that we showed to hold on to what we'd done in the early stages, I think for me it was it was something special, that game. I think
for me, yes, I loved the Coventry game. Thought it was amazing, but I think the home game against Sheffield United, I think for me that was quite iconic, because obviously they're in the Championship. They were
Coventry though.
I get that, but they were they. I mean, I'm not. I don't even know where they are on the table anymore, but I'm assuming
they're still
so. So they gunning for promotion into the Premier League. It was just, and I think the fact that it was a home game as well always makes it that a little bit more special. And Did we? I can't even remember what happened. Did we beat them? I thought
No, it was 3-3.
We
went to the replay.
Oh, do you know what? It's like, yeah.
Do you know? But you say it makes it more special being at home. I think for me, it makes it more special being away.
Yeah.
To go to a championship team on a ground that they play in, week out,
and to beat them,
and to step up and to beat them in their own backyard. I think for me that's what made that more special, and the fact Sheffield United equalised right at the end sort of ruined it for me as well. So
yeah, well, I'm not saying the away game was
that was decent.
Yeah, no, the home game, I think, even though like we said, we did equalise. I just think it was, for me, it was a good game of football.
Well, it's almost like there was no pressure getting. When I got on the coach to Coventry, and I just thought, well, as long as we don't get crushed, I'd be happy with it.
Yeah, 100%. I think everyone sort of thought like that, though. It was one of them where you go, look, let's go. I think there was a lot of talk before the game as well of going, look, we don't need a cup run. We're all right. Let's go there. Let's have a nice day out, and then let's all go home and let's get on with winning the league. Yeah, definitely. And then I think the players felt that as well because there was no expectation on them. I think they were just so relaxed, and it showed in the way that they played, especially in the first half. Anyway.
Yeah, definitely.
I was actually just thought this. When I was on the way to Halifax, it sort of naturally popped up in my head, which perhaps that stayed a bit too long in the memory, perhaps. But if you could perhaps bring a player who previously played for Wrexham in the non-league era, which one would you bring back? Would you bring back a Jay Harris or a Dean Keats to play in this team?
Do you know what? That's tough. For me, it would probably be. Who would it be?
Who indeed?
So obviously that's quite difficult because the players that Sian knows. I'm going to name a player now, and Sian will go. I don't know who that.
I'm going to say Lee Jones because I know who Lee Jones is.
He wasn't in the non-league though. If we're going further back, I think you've got to be looking at like a Gary Bennett or something like that, haven't you? To bring someone like that.
I know who Gary Bennett is.
Yeah, well there you go. But or then you've got there's just so many players that you've got like if you're going further back, you're looking at like Morel, Trundle. Oh, my head's swimming now. Maybe like a Louis Moult, maybe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so someone. But again, it's such an awkward question that is, because it's like this. As soon as you start thinking of one, then you start thinking of, oh yeah, but what about him? But what about him? What about him? And then before you know it, you're back in the 80s and you've named about 50 players in your head.
I think that's proving a little video I'll probably have to making in the next few weeks. Comparing the 98 points team to this current team and see who would win with that one.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, I think that for like people like me, like Sian won't remember that because it was too far back, but that season I think it scarred a lot of people as well, because I think all through this season you were drawing comparisons, especially as the season went on, and you're going, we've been here before and we've been on this amount of points before, especially when we were both in the late 80s, early 90s in points. You start going, oh my God, it's a Fleetwood all over again, and it's going to happen. And I think things like that do scar fans for a long time. Luckily for you,
I was going to say I'm lucky. I've not had any of that.
No.
Obviously last season we didn't promote, and that was quite emotional. But I always believe that things happen for a reason.
Yeah. And
I definitely believe that last season. Obviously it wasn't meant to be because it didn't happen, but I do think that things that are meant to happen for a reason, and I think we needed to strengthen the team a bit more, which has been done tenfold, I think. I think this season's our one, to be honest.
Yeah, and I think as well, you'd hope to be going into League Two next season, but we're going into League Two in a much better position.
Than we were last season.
Fingers crossed we're going into League Two as champions. Fingers crossed with 113 points, from the season before, which is hopefully that's what we'll have. And to have something like that as a springboard into a new season, as opposed to just sneaking through in the playoffs, I think that'll be huge, and that'll make a big difference to us next season if everything does.
So I suppose I would say I still think I hold a grudge against Fleetwood and Jamie Vardy even 10 years on.
Yeah, he never scored against us, did he, Jamie Vardy, that season? Other people did, but he never did. So,
I was wondering where do you think we'll be in 5 years' time? Is it League One or Championship?
I mean, we've talked about this quite a bit, and I genuinely think that the team we have now today should next season be challenging for that top three. I definitely think we are good enough to be there. I mean, if you look at Stockport are fourth at the moment, and I think we this season are better than the Stockport team of last season. I think we're head and shoulders above what they were, and they're in fourth place at the moment. So I would be, if I'm honest, I would be disappointed not to be challenging for that top three next season, straight off the bat. And I think we can easily make that jump. Promotion this season, promotion next season, so back-to-back promotions would see us in League One, in just one more season. And then the 3 years after that, for me, are sort of about consolidating a bit and building on what you've already got. I don't see, as people may laugh, but I don't see any reason why we couldn't be in the Championship within 5 years. I don't see that being a ridiculous sort of aspiration for the club. The next step after that is something that will take time and will take money. More money than I think probably Rob and Ryan have got if they put everything they owned into the club. I think there is more needed than that, and that might need outside help, perhaps, which might be a sad day to see somebody else come in. But I genuinely think in 5 years, I don't think the Championship is ridiculous. Let's put it like that.
Do you agree, John? What do you think?
To be honest, I'm obviously still learning and stuff like that, so I understand obviously the levels and things like that we've got, but I mean, if I'm going to put, I would say we'll be in the Premier League in 5 years, but that's my ignorance in regards to how difficult it is to get to the Premier League.
Yeah, I think the where we differ, because Siân isn't just new to Wrexham, Siân's new to football.
Yeah,
completely. It was only last season she was never interested in football. You say so, and then she's fallen in love, quite quickly with coming to games and all that sort of stuff. But for me, obviously, I've been watching football for 35 years. And I am one of these people who, on a Saturday night, I will literally watch highlights from every single game from the Premier League right the way through to the National League. I will spend hours watching highlights of everything. So I got a decent-ish handle on the levels that you need to be at and the quality of football that you get in the different leagues. I'm no expert, but I do sort of, I can see the levels. If you go from, I don't think League One and League Two are a massive jump. from one to the other. In the same way, I don't think the National League to League Two is a massive jump. I think they're very similar, which why it always annoys me that there's only one automatic promotion place from the National League, because I do think the two leagues are so close in quality. Maybe not so much down the bottom end of the National League, but certainly everything from about halfway up, I would say, it's very similar. And like I say, I don't think there's a huge jump from League Two to League One. I think the difference that you definitely notice is League One to Championship. I think it takes a special type of club to push on once they get from League One to Championship. The amount of teams that you see get promoted from League One to the Championship and then just come straight back down again. Yeah. I think, there's a real struggle there. Although having said that, the sort of team that makes me look a little bit stupid is probably Forest Green Rovers, who obviously went up from League Two to League One, and they're bottom of League One, and they're coming straight back down again. So, there obviously is a difference in quality, but I just think it's about that adaptability of a team as well, and not being too stubborn to play in the way that you've played in a league before and been able to adapt to what's in front of you, really.
Yeah, well, probably the last couple of things now. How, if you were trying to persuade me to move from the Yale to the Mold Road, what would you do to try and persuade me to come across?
Well, the sun doesn't get in your eyes.
That is my exact point.
And to be honest, I've never been in the Yale Stand, so I don't know what the food's like over there. I'm assuming it's the same, but the service is pretty shocking in the Mold Road Stand. Anyway,
I don't completely.
We get there early. That's why we don't have any issues.
Yeah, I suppose, but yeah, I think the ground, whole ground wide, I think there's definite improvements that could be made with food,
drink.
Drink, speed of service. I think that's something that I couldn't really convince you to come over the Mold Road based on any of them things, because I don't think any of them are amazing.
Yeah.
Like I say, we're there when the gates open.
Yeah.
So we're first to the bar.
Yeah.
First to the bar, first to the food. So we don't really have to deal with the queues.
No.
But
yeah, I would probably say the only thing that would probably get you is the sun's not in your eyes. That's probably the only thing.
We used to have the Centenary Club at the Yale until they introduced that, the 100 limit thing.
Yes.
But yeah, that's where we used to pile from our seats and clamber all across to the other side of the Yale to go into the Centenary Club at half time, and then we're like checking to make sure we timed it correctly to get out of the Yale and also the Centenary right back to our seats just in time. So there was always a few who were not quite making it there. But
no,
we do have
I always have a drink. I always have a drink before the game, but I never have a drink at half time.
It's just too stressful,
because it's just there's no point. The queues are so big. You see people leaving at like 35 minutes to go and queue up, and they're not even back in their seats 5 minutes into the second half, and you're like, I would just rather watch the game than have to worry about getting a drink at half time. But I do think that there's so many events that I've been to over the years that do service so well for a lot of people, and I'm talking about loads more people than we have through the turnstiles at Wrexham. You go to rugby games and they've got the huge 8-pint pullers, so instead of them pulling one drink, they're pulling 8 pints at a time, and they're setting to one side. One person's doing that, not serving anyone. You move along, and then the next person's going, right, 1 for you, 2 for you, whatever. I just think they can improve it so much. But Siân makes a very good point. The sun in your eyes.
Also,
that's a big one.
Also, have another one. Rob and Ryan are in that stand as well. Yeah. So
we do
a bit of eye candy for the girls. Maybe not you, but for the girls, it's good.
We do see a few former famous face in the Yale, and then the directors we get, Dennis Smith, Dennis
Yeah.
Lawrence, and Mark Crichton, and a few of the squad all pop along in the director's box. But it's more amusing when the away team scores and they got the away directors leaping up cheering. That's amusing if they got the guys next to them to
Yeah.
tell them
Yeah.
That's
Yeah. Yeah.
So here's a question for you then. What would you do to convince us to go over to the Yale Stand?
It's not as cold in the Yale
Yeah, well, that is
compared to
right, yeah. Yeah, because
It's just basically weather based.
Yeah, very
yeah. I don't think I just need convincing to go in the tech end, because I don't like the view, to be honest. When I go to away games, I like the side view. I don't like the behind the goal. To be fair,
I love being behind the goal.
See, yeah, it's one of them weird things. I would never go behind the goal
at home.
Yeah, but at an away game, I do really enjoy being behind the goal, sort of low down, right behind the goal, sort of quite central. We quite enjoy that. But the thought of doing that week in, week out, it doesn't really appeal to me, to be perfectly honest, because we're sort of on the halfway line, and we quite enjoy that.
Like 3 seats from the front, aren't we?
But whenever we do go away, it's sort of like nice to do that, but just for one game.
It's like a little novelty thing. When we went to the Halifax game, I was a bit. We were sitting, so
I don't know how that ended up.
Yeah, so I was a bit gutted after, because I wanted to be in the Kop, but it was just standing, wasn't it? And it's just So I do like to be behind the goal at an away game, but I do like to be where we sit for home games.
Yeah, definitely.
Hopefully there's more opportunities next season, with fingers crossed that we are promoting. There's a few more bigger, those larger allocations for us. So fingers crossed. I suppose, finish off, I suppose we've got to talk about Saturday. So do you think we'll win?
100%.
There we go.
But I am ever the optimist.
Yeah.
So I genuinely think that we've got the team to do it. And I think I have every belief, and I'm nervous, but I'm really, really excited for Saturday. So I'm hoping that we're just going to be coming away very, very happy and not any other emotion.
It's one of them, innit? I think Borehamwood, if you could, I'd probably pick almost anybody else other than Borehamwood, because it for me, Borehamwood just screams banana skin. They're one of them teams. Although, the last couple of seasons we've struggled away to Borehamwood.
Yeah.
But we've usually played really well against them at home, and we've I think we beat them twice last season, didn't we? Once in the FA Trophy, one was 3-0 and one was 4-2, and I think we pretty much dominated both games. So I'll take that. That'll be nice. And you don't want to be leaving it till the last game. I think it's one of them. I hope the magnitude of the sort of the day doesn't get to the players. But having said that, they don't strike me as them sort of players. With the games that we've played, like the Sheffield United game, the Notts County game, they don't strike you as games where they've been really, nervous and the occasion's got to them. They seem to step up to the big occasion. So hopefully Saturday is another one of them days, because I really do not want to be going to Torquay needing something. Because, if you sort of think you'd fancy Notts County to win both of their games, in that instance, 2 draws isn't enough. We would lose out on goal difference with that. So you don't want to be getting a draw on Saturday, because the only result that we can get at Torquay to guarantee the league is a win. And that sounds disgusting, having to go to Torquay, especially if they are still in the shout of staying up. You don't want to be in that situation. So all that being said, I've answered a really short question in a very long way. I do fancy us to put a few past Borehamwood, and I'd fancy keeping a clean sheet as well. So I'd fancy like a 2 or 3-0, I think.
Oh,
for me.
best attack versus the best defence. That's
Yes.
one way to go for it. Yes, I think we'll win as well. I think that'll be the day for us, and we'll be partying and wishing we booked Monday off work or something like that. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, ideally, Maidstone are playing Notts County. They've got nothing to play for really, but we know how dangerous teams like that can be. We remember, everyone remembers Dover. And Dover literally had nothing to play for, and the freedom that they played with against us and the goals that they scored, it was one of them unbelievable days. Hopefully Maidstone have the same sort of idea on Saturday and they can sort of step up a little bit. I mean, I don't think they will, and I think Notts County will be way too strong for them, but it'd be nice if they could nick a draw, and then we'll be going into that going, well, we'll go for the win, but if we do draw, that it's ours. So that'd be nice. If they get beat, that'd be even better. It'd just be one long party. But yeah. I think for me, I'd like to win the league actually winning a game and not have it handed to you by somebody else losing. I think that's always a nicer way to win something. For me, it is anyway.
Yeah.
Right, I think that's everything. Well, thanks for your time, Ryan and Siân. So, obviously, thank you, listener, as well, if you're still here at the end. And thank you very much for listening all the way through. Be sure to check out Me, the Wife, and Wrexham AFC. Give them a follow and subscribe. And please subscribe. And thanks for sticking us through. And, well, hopefully this time next week we're champions. And, well, we're thinking of League 2. But thank you very much, and goodbye.